Hello everybody, Brad Johnson here. I'm happy to share another Brad's vlog with all of you today. And I'm going to be talking more about my personal journey with self-healing. Now what I discovered that really helped me a lot through my healing journey in regards to practicums or methods, as you could say, was being able to stumble upon this idea about just using the notebook, right? Being able to take a notebook and then just starting to write things down as it relates to personal traumas, emotional situations, old relationships, impairments of understanding self-betterment, right? So there was this one person that you can actually find on YouTube, and I think his information was really, really good because I was noticing that it was being very much on par with my own information as well too. He went by the name of Levinson, and there's quite a lot of information and sharings of knowledge that he had through his work. He transitioned, I would say, in the 1990s. But I started to watch his videos because there was a client of mine that kind of referred me to him and saying, this guy's pretty interesting, you should check him out. He says he feels kind of like an enlightened fellow. So I went ahead and I did that. And he was talking actually on his website. I'm trying to remember what his website is. I think it's lesterlevinson.org, if I'm not mistaken. But he was talking about his own background, that he was a physicist, and it wasn't until in his early 40s that his doctors were telling him there was nothing they could do for him, and just go home and die. I mean, that's the best kind of news you can ever give to somebody, right? So I started to read his story from what he was going through in his 40s, and he realized that one of his greatest transformations was being able to take out a notebook and just write out all of these past instances that he had with relationships, that he had with women, in regards to his own insecurities and impairments. He just wrote it out and just started to write everything down, and then began to bring positive reinforcement into all of these realizations that he had. And when I started looking at that and saying, wow, I've used a notebook for a while, but I haven't really considered it that way, right? Looking into past relationships, writing it all out, putting them into situations where you feel a person that maybe you really didn't like in the past is getting together with your ex-partner, and that you're being happy and joyful for them, right? This took me a bit of time as well too to look into that concept, but I really, really enjoyed a lot of the sharings that he had. Again, he was a really profound guide that was again alive up until the 90s, and I think he lived into about his 80s or 90s in that way. But his information was astonishing, and I started to apply this myself, because I would use my notebook for just writing down certain things that were bothering me from what Adronis was saying, right? Look into your day, write about your day, don't hold back, never leave anything unturned, just write about your day, whatever it is, and then put your notebook aside and go on with your day, right? Once you feel clear relating to what it is that you wrote about, then you come back to the notebook, you open it up, and then you look at it as an observer. And then you start looking into new understandings that your day was telling you about that you couldn't see before because you were too emotionally involved with the situation. So when Lester Levinson was talking about what he was doing on a little bit more of a deeper level, I thought, this is it. This is something really, really good. Thank you, Lester. That's great. So I went ahead and started doing this, and this radically transformed a lot of perspective relating to old relationships that I had as well too, relating to insecurities that I had as well too. It really, really helped. And I'd say the notebook, right, being able to use just a simple notebook and writing things down, talking to yourself about your past, sharing it, and now being able to put positive reinforcement upon it is one of the most powerful things that you can do. And it just starts off with a simple notebook, pen and paper, right? Writing things down and being able to move into these transformative states. So again, I've done that a lot, especially within the past, I'd say about a year and a half, 2 years. And now I'm moving more into looking deeper with the light circuitry, because I've been doing light circuitry now since about 2011. And now I'm discovering a lot of new concepts relating to self-healing. Now, some of you on my channel may have seen the video about cellular organ repair, the COR Meditation that's available on my YouTube channel. And that is incredibly powerful, right? I was actually doing an advanced version of that, which I'll get into a moment, last night. And there was some profound change that was taking place. But I was even talking to a client yesterday who said that she did it as well too. She had some problems with her shoulder, and her doctors really couldn't do anything for her. And they just said, just to go home, you're inoperable, there's nothing we can do. And so she discovered that video about the cellular organ repair, and she did the exercise, and great improvements happened. But there was a little bit of a tidbit that I forgot to mention in the video near the very end that she reminded me of. When you're doing the cellular organ repair, give yourself about at least a good day, 2 days if possible, to rest, to relax. Because what happens is when I've done healing work with other people in the past, where they have a sore leg, or they may have a sore back, or whatever it may be, and they're like, oh my god, this is better now, I can go and I can go for a run. And I'm like, okay, hold your horses, right? You don't want to just go ahead and test this out, running out of the gate. So it's very important that you're taking some time after doing this healing and rejuvenation, that you're using that one cell, right, duplicating it billions of times, and then running it through the organs, and then putting all of that offloading of toxicity in the digestive system and allowing the body to purge it. You want to give it time, right? You want to give yourself about a day or two of rest. Very, very important. So that's what I neglected to mention in the meditation as well too. And I'm pretty sure it's pretty common knowledge, but just in case people that think that, oh my god, I'm so much better, there's no longer that sore muscle, now I can go and run in this marathon today. I'm like, whoa, hold your horses. You want to give yourself about a day or two of restoration, just taking it easy, not doing any kind of rigorous exercises around the house or running outside and running in marathons or anything of that nature. Give yourself a day or two to really recuperate. Drink plenty of water as well too. Eat light, right? Get some rest. And then after a couple days, you may start to feel that, yeah, now I'm feeling grounded, I'm feeling good. Because what really happened was your ability to surrender and use those cells that you program to flush out all the toxicity because of your emotional acceptance to do so, right? So your mental body, your emotional body, is all in a state of cooperation. You're in alliance with it. And now the physical body can restore itself, right? So that is cellular organ repair. And again, I'll leave a link that you can find in the video description in case you haven't seen that yet. Again, recommend checking it out. It is a very, very powerful technique. It's not my technique. That's another thing I'm going to share as well too. These aren't my techniques. These are techniques given to me by Spirit, right? So whether it's by Adronis, whether it's by the universal mind, it's spiritual guidance coming through me, and I'm just acting as a carrier, as a conduit to bringing this information out. Because there's times where I have to even look back at the video because I don't plan what's being said, right? I just roll the camera, and then this flow just starts coming in, and I just start sharing the information as it comes through. And that was the case with cellular organ repair, is I was just running the camera and saying, okay, I don't even know the step-by-step procedure, but flow is going to bring it out through me. And so I was even looking back at the video and saying, what did I say then? I can't remember what I said. What was it? What are these things that were going on, right? And so I went and looked at it last night and started reminding, oh, okay, that's what it was. That's what it was. So even I'm the one that's looking back at my videos and trying to remember a lot about what's being said, because I'm just very much in a flow state. Even with this right now, I'd have no memory about what I'm sharing with you guys right now. All this stuff comes out, it comes on video, I prepare it, I put it up on YouTube, and that's it, and it runs its course. So I don't really look at this word for word, paying attention to every single word that I'm saying. It's all just a natural flow state. Now, as I was talking about, that there is an advanced level of cellular organ repair that I'm working on right now. Actually, one of these inspirations for this more advanced technique came through anime, right? And actually, I would say quite a few of these techniques that I look into a lot deeper are actually inspired by anime shows, right? Like Fullmetal Alchemist, Naruto, all of that. I'm a big fan of anime. So when I look at these things and I say, this is pretty good, there's a lot of truth in what this character in the show is saying, right? There's a lot of truth about what's happening here, and saying, that's pretty neat in an anime, right? You get all the great visual effects and the epicness that anime is. But I'm like, well, maybe there's a practicality to this. Maybe there's something that I can do that can help bring something as epic as this, right? And bring it into physical reality. And so that's when I'll start probing it. I'll start going into the universal mind and say, okay, well, this is kind of how it was in the show. What can I do to bring this out, to make this more practical, to make this something that I can apply through myself and then share it with everybody else? So basically, as I've said in the past, when I have these new concepts, when I have new healing work that is coming out and being shared by everybody else, it has to pass through me first. So I look at these things, I run them through trials. If they work through me, then I share it with everybody else. If they don't work through me, I don't share it with anybody because it didn't work for me. So that's what I do mainly with my healing work. So again, this is called Mitotic Cellular Regeneration. And it is something out of the anime Naruto. And basically what that entails is being able to program your cells. But what you're doing is you're programming your white cells and your red cells, right? So the white blood cells, red blood cells as well. So what you're doing is you're basically taking, and I'm going to be putting this up in one of the light circuitry weekly episodes and giving a little more detail with it, and having a light circuit for you guys as well too, once we get into the month of November. But in a nutshell, you're basically taking the cluster of the white blood cells and you're, again, programming them, right? So you're bringing joy into them, just like you did with the COR. So you're bringing a bunch of joy into your white blood cells, and you're duplicating that cluster. Let's say if there's 1 billion within this cluster, you're basically seeing mitosis. And now you're seeing 2 huge clusters, right? So say 2 billion of those white blood cells that are now programmed with joyful energy to be redirected into your body to repair a lesion or to repair an organ or tissue, whatever it may be. Then you're focusing on the red blood cells, again, clustering them all together, right? Billions into one. And then you're creating mitosis with those red blood cells as well too. And again, they are filled with joy, with love, with compassionate energy. Now you're taking those white blood cells and those red blood cells and you're combining them together, right? So they're kind of like this big ball between white blood cells and red blood cells. And what you're going to do is you're going to direct them through your body to find out exactly where you want them placed to initiate mitotic regeneration. So now you're mainly seeing these white blood cells that are being fueled by the oxygen of the red blood cells, just basically sewing up these lesions, or again, areas of injury within your body. And it's kind of like you're envisioning steam. Like, see if you have a laceration right here on your arm, okay? And you're basically directing all of the white blood cells, red blood cells over there, and you're just feeling like that whole laceration is being stitched up. And it's like you're seeing steam coming out of the wound, and it's actually being sealed up in that way. So last night I do have a small area on my body that has a light laceration on it. And so I was practicing that last night, and I made a light circuit out of this and programmed it just in regards to how I described it with you guys here and now. And I just put it under my pillow as I went to sleep, and I could feel this enormous rush of energy. The first thing that was coming to my mind was like, I hope I can get some sleep tonight, because I'm feeling a whole shitload of energy right now coming in down to the lower area of my body where the laceration is. And so I was feeling that, but it felt really, really good. It was really just like beautiful, flowing energy. It was very powerful and radiant. And then I started to feel like the laceration was being worked on, right? Like we were feeling that steam coming up out of the wound and just closing itself back up. So when I checked on it this morning when I woke up, half of it was actually back to normal. So again, if the laceration, say for example, was this big, it was about like this big when I woke up this morning, right? I was blown away. I was like, holy crap, this is really good, this is working. And so my intention is to continuously create more light circuits on a daily basis until this laceration is completely healed up and that would pass my trials. And then so when I get past the trials, then I'll make this into kind of a series of light circuits that'll be available, as well as the guided meditation, and that'll be in one of the upcoming Light Circuitry Weekly episodes that'll be coming up. So very excited about this new advanced technique that's just taking a step from past the cellular organ repair and moving into this mitotic cellular regeneration, MCR. Okay, so that's what I'm working on with that. But another thing I wanted to discuss as well too, especially in this video, was a lot of people, gurus in that sense, teachers on YouTube, and I kind of watch some people from time to time. I'm not going to mention any names or anything like that. And I kind of watch about how these people, come up to the microphone and start talking to these gurus. And don't get me wrong, these gurus are very wise. They have a lot of great, powerful transformation that they have gone through themselves. And I look at basically how these people are suffering and how they're going through these heavy suffering states because they're putting so much planning ahead, so much of distortion within their minds. And a lot of what I hear from some particular type of gurus is, what is the mind? Who are you? Who is it that you feel you are? Can you identify who I is in this moment? And that's great, because that is indeed the truth. But then I kind of I can feel the energy within these particular people as well too, and they just feel more lost, and they feel more trapped in that way. And like I said, these gurus are great. They have great kinds of forms of transformation that they have gone through in their own way. But what I have discovered over the years is that when a person is going through the struggling of their own mind, to basically give them the impression that mind itself doesn't exist, doesn't help them, right? The important thing to understand is that when you're working together with a harsh mind, when you're feeling your mind is just contaminated with all these feelings of, am I doing things right? Am I doing things wrong? Why am I getting all these visions? Why am I getting this? Why is this happening to me? How come I can't catch a break here? What's going on? And then we're telling them, oh, don't worry about mind. Mind doesn't exist, and don't worry about you because you don't exist, and everything is one, and we're connected back to the source consciousness, and that becomes the answer of the guru. And I would say that this is not helping them in that way, right? You have to understand that what really brings us into these states of realization is that when we know we've had an imbalanced mind, we've worked together with reinforcement to rebalance it together. So really, when you're having problems with the mind, and this is what I'm hoping maybe some gurus or teachers are tuning into this video and listening to it, is that when you're tuning into the mind, it's important that you're helping a person to guide them back into a state of positive reinforcement, because right now they're out of balance with their mind. Right now they're not in the state to realize, to move past the mind, because they're still stuck in it. It's like being in a tar pit and you're struggling and you're fighting, and it's just basically saying, don't worry about taking a branch, don't worry about taking a hand, just realize that there is no tar pit, right? But you're still in the tar, and you're still fighting, and you're still struggling. The whole idea in that sense is being able to surrender yourself and realize the more that you fight, the greater you go deeply into the tar pit. So in this aspect, it's all about being able to work together with positively reinforcing a balance that represents the mind. So when you feel that you're drowning in the harshness and the hardships and the conflicts of your own mind, by trying to tell yourself that mind doesn't exist, it's like throwing a ball against a wall and having it hit you back in the head again. Right? So, that's true. We are beyond mind. We are beyond all of these things. These are just concepts, etc., etc. And that's all true. Absolutely. But you have made it real. You have imprinted the mind to be chaotic. So, what you're looking to do is you're taking aspects of that chaotic mind and you're again creating substitution, right? You're working with positive reinforcement. You're bringing in the love, the compassion of yourself. You're looking deeper into yourself as to looking into why these things are happening into your life, because it is a mental concept, because you're struggling with mind. Once those two facets, those two hemispheres become one, and you're now harmonizing yourself. Now you are in the appropriate alignment to go past mind, right? You cannot go past mind if you're still fighting with it, right? It's the same thing with our dramas. A lot of us want to get past dramas in our life. We don't want to be fighting with partners. We don't want to have financial burden, etc. And we just want to go past it. But we keep tethering ourselves to these situations. And whenever we say there are no dramas, these dramas are just a part of the mind and I can try and go past it, you're trying to walk away, but you're still tethered to that aspect of mind that's pulling you back and that's still creating conflict within yourself. In order for you to get past mind, again, you have to make peace with it, right? Everything is integrative. So you're integrating those two hemispheres, the harshness and the purity coming together, meshing themselves together, harmonizing together as one. And now you're feeling at peace with your mind, right? After all the work you've been doing, you're starting to make peace with yourself. You're starting to find peace with the mind. And after you do that, now you can excel beyond mind. Now you can go back into the source. Now you can go back into the absolute. And you're not caught up in the whirlwind of mind anymore. But again, that is almost next to impossible to do if you're still fighting with your own mind. If you're still creating all these conflicts and you don't have answers, right? And there's still that rational aspect of yourself that has not come together in peace. You can't force that to get better, right? It's not about saying, oh, rational mind, just stop it. Leave me alone. I don't want to talk about this anymore. Get lost, right? It's going to come back and it's going to become even louder the next time. So really what's being said here is that to the gurus, to the teachers, etc., you have done really great in being able to move yourself into the space of no mind in that way. And that's wonderful. But really you have to really look into feeling where a person is, feeling what they are going through, feeling their own particular experience, just as an observer in that way. You get an understanding. And you basically tell them, share with them, a lot about how to bring equilibrium back to the mind. If they're facing all these things and they're getting visions and their conscience is attempting to tell something to them, it's not about saying, oh, get rid of that, it's all garbage, it's nothing, get rid of it. No. Don't get rid of it, right? Your mind's not stupid. Even though it's a concept, it's not stupid, right? Your mind is trying to tell you something. You want to look into discovering what that is. So whatever that may be, a lot of the time it's people withholding love, not being able to trust themselves, not seeing the value in what they do, feeling abandoned, feeling segregated, feeling separated, and they don't realize that they're going through this. And so when you have that guide, right, I don't like to use the word teacher so much, even though I call what I do New Earth teachings for convenience sake, but when you're talking to that guide, or even if it's a guide within yourself, whatever it may be, you're working together in helping to sew together these messages, sew together these rebounds that are happening together with this individual. And now again, it's like you're taking out a needle and the thread and you're sewing the middle line between the harshness and between the lightness and bringing them together and forming that equilibrium of mind together. Only then, when you know that you are making peace with yourself, making peace with your mind, making peace with your heart, your soul, your spirit, now you're able to move past concepts of mind, of physical reality, even of the soul as well too. The soul represents a state of impermanence as well. And then you're coming into the absolute. You're becoming that energy. You're becoming that alignment because now you're in the alignment of throwing off these layers, as Adronis has talked about before, wearing these extra garments, these extra clothes that you're piling upon yourself because you feel you need to wear all those clothes to feel some type of protection, even though you're only showing much more insecurity to yourself. So that's what I really wanted to put out there, especially for this vlog, is that really just look into what the person is going through, and this is what I do with my clients as well too, is looking into what they're going through, getting some type of impression from a neutral level about what they're experiencing and what their messages are, doing some probing and starting to work together with where they are in a state of relationship and rapport. And as that happens, that person is now realizing what they're going through their own intention, and now they're able to bring things back together into harmony. So this is what I see is lacking in some of these spiritual teachers and gurus as well too. And I'm talking about some pretty high caliber guys here. So this is just what I've noticed doing thousands of sessions the past 10 years and knowing what has really helped people and seeing them transform past the mind as a result of that. So just want to put that out there. That is very, very important. We make peace with the mind, and then we're able to transcend it. We're able to transcend its concepts. So again, thank you everybody for joining me for this special edition of Brad's Vlog. Again, I'll have another episode ready next week. And of course, this coming Monday, I'm going to be debuting the very first episode of Empathic Interfacing Live. Okay, so that's happening Monday at 3 p.m. Pacific this coming week. All right, so I'm looking forward to that as well too. Thank you so much everybody for tuning in, and I'll speak to you again in another perspective of the now. Take care. Namaste.